Are we live? Let's see, am I showing up?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Hold the volume, okay? Oh my God, where am I?
I wish I took a picture. Scott, can you give me an idea of how many pages of paragraph to read after 10? How many pages?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Pathways Live. We have a big audience here. We're under the legal limit of 10. We're all of 5 of us here. Hopefully there's more of you out there. This is our first attempt at live streaming. Please call us if it's not working for you. We'll try to answer any questions, but we're also putting out an appeal for anyone that would like to come and speak, dance, draw, write, raig, no, what's that word for? Have a diatribe of any sorts, or any experts with Corona apocalypse. But tonight we have some great readers, and we're so excited that Jenny Allen is in the house, and RAIJKA UNGERER and BENITA JANE. So we're going to mix it up tonight. Now these are longer readings than we normally get to do, so we're going to break that up. We're going to start with Jenny. And again, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we want to try to keep the light on and chill mark here as long as we are legally allowed to, and have individuals come in. We don't have audiences, and that should keep us legal. So, Jenny, come to the stage.
This is so. Hey, Jenny. It's on way more cold than it is.
It's so whatever to read something trying to be funny in an empty house, but I don't want you to feel like you have to laugh. Just because there's only 5 of us in the room. Oh my God. Okay, so this is a little humor piece. I don't like it when people read off their computers, but the West Tisbury Library, where I print everything out, is closed. So this piece I'm going to read. Inspired to write this by, I don't know if you all remember some articles in various, from a news organization about this Dutch fertility doctor. For decades, a Dutch fertility doctor secretly swapped in his own sperm for donor samples while administering IVF treatments. On Friday, DNA tests finally confirmed that the late Jan Karbat fathered dozens of his patients' children without their knowledge or consent. In February, the Rotterdam district court that he may have covertly fathered as many as 200 children. Officially, they said 49, but it seems to, he didn't keep very good records, it seems. So it could be almost any number. All right, this is loans. I requested that Stuygen van Dijk, my dear friend and executor, share this Father's Day missive with all of you after my 178 IQ points attacked. Not to mention my spermatozoa. My spermatozoa are astounding. I check squiggling busily about like those of a strapping 17-year-old farm boy. I have left 37 jars of my ejaculate frozen in my laboratory, Nobel Prize, and the contents of those jars will be put to invaluable use. Of this I am certain. Meanwhile, given your genetic inheritance, you may look forward to living into a similarly vigorous old age. This is but one of my gifts to you, my kindred. By the time you read this, the jig will be up. Stuygen has been hearing from quite a few of your attorneys with shrill demands that I produce samples of my DNA, which, by the way, I have gazed upon many times under my powerful electron microscope, and which is flawless. Its spiraled strands as perfectly curled as the ringlets of Shirley Temple, and so robust it glows in the dark. Your strident attorneys insist that I confess to being your papcha. I confess, happily, proudly, and with great paternal love and affection for each and every one of you, whoever you are. I lost count after fertilizing the eggs of the 49 or 80 or 100 or 200 of the women who carried you to fruition. But really, does it matter? Think of all the brilliant in your baby fat and looking increasingly like me. I myself spoke my first words at 3 months. My diaper is sodden. Change it at once, I told Molky, my dear nanny. I remember the moment distinctly, for it was after this that Molky allowed me to do exactly as I pleased. And but yes, I could have been around more. As it was, you had to make do with the spouses of the women who came to me as patients. Most of these men were stupid and ugly and not worthy of you. Their DNA probably looked like a broken old twig. Why is my father such an ignorant lump, you asked yourselves. Now you know. And surely there's comfort in that. Stygian tells me that quite a few of you are cross with me. This feeling will pass, to be replaced by boundless gratitude, of that I am certain. So raise a glass to your loving father on this special day, knowing that I say to you from beyond the grave, no need for thanks. A monument will be homage enough. All right, next.
Oh, he's so sweet.
Can I just get my water? I'm sorry. Very demanding. Thank you. Perfect. Good evening. My name is RAIJKA UNGERER. I'm going to read about beautiful Italy and some Germany. Visiting Milan and Berlin. I arrived in Milano on a clear sunny afternoon. The moment I stepped out of the airplane, my feet touched the ground. A short walk to the terminal and few more steps to the passport control, I'm in Italy. Small, one-level airport is a great relief to traveler. Contrary to the Dallas International Airport I came from, there's always a lot of walking and waiting, standing in long lines to check in, buses to departure terminals, to the departure gate, to the boarding, and often through the bottleneck at the boarding gate. From my Dallas nightmare to Milano Airport, I'm in a state of easiness and often experienced at the airport. The porter picks up my luggage and carries it by hand to the exit door. Before I follow him outside, he's already putting my suitcases in the trunk of the Mercedes 200 SE. I feel like singing. Welcome to Europe. Everything is different, smaller, and closer to touch. Smiling happily, I slide in the back seat of the beige Mercedes as the taxi driver closes the door behind me. The drive from the airport is through the beautiful countryside. Along the highway, there are even on the autostrada. Some of the grass is adorned with blooms of any small white flowers swaying in the breeze. The taxi driver keeps an even speed. I lean back, feeling confident. Oh, you don't like my Mercedes? Oh no, I love it. It's stunning. Can I drive it? Not now. The taxi is slowing down. We are at the exit. The taxi driver is chatting with a man on the booth. They are laughing. After a minute or two, the other pays the fee, and the two of them are still laughing. I ask him if they are friends. He just shrugs his shoulders, not saying anything. He probably does not appreciate my Italian. I better be quick and stick to English. We are approaching a small bridge over the highway. There's a horse pulling a cart with a farmer whose head is resting on his chest, looking as though he's asleep. I tap the driver's back and point to the horse sleeping farmer. He waves his hand. Va bene, niente cosa. He is not alarmed at all. He must have seen this before. He is confident that the horse will bring his master home. I'm thinking of the American highways with the elaborate toll systems, the easy pass, the automatic turbos for exact change. No human contact. One can spend hours driving, occasionally slowing down to feed those machines, and nobody will say thank you. I'm wondering if the tall grass with small white flowers and the sleeping farmer are they a mirage? We are approaching the city. The taxi easily slides into Mercedes' busy street. Soon we are barely moving through one of the largest cities in Italy, renowned for architecture, fashion, and design. One of the world's greatest Gothic cathedrals, Duomo di Milano, second largest in St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, is known to have 3,400 statues and 135 towers. The art lovers from all over the world are attracted in this majestic site. It took over 5 centuries to build it. It was completed in 1887. I'll skip it, I don't know. The best thing to do. The best thing for me to do is to take a leisurely walk to the cathedral and later on to the Galleria for a delicious Italian meal. I just barely arrived and already feel sad to have to leave. I have often extended my stay when I fell in love with a place, but cannot do it this time. 2 days in Milano were already an exception. Suddenly, just around the corner, illuminated cathedral appears majestically at the end of the piazza. It took my breath away. I stand still, taking in the majestic sight. Somebody behind me mumbles something in Italian. I turn around. A young man almost bumps into me. I'm embarrassed and wish to apologize. Before I could utter a word, shrugging his shoulders, he opens his arms toward me and says, "Scusi, signora." I must appear old to the Italians, always addressing me with signora. I remember they used to call me signorina. By the time I thought of saying prego, he was far ahead. This is my last evening in Milano. I better enjoy it as much as I can, instead of being greedy and always wanting more. I see a cafe facing the cathedral. There's one small table. How lucky I am to get the table on Piazza Duomo. The waiter with a lovely smile is approaching me, talking a lot and fast. I understand a word here and there. All I can do is to listen and smile back. I order Campari soda. A sudden attack of an urgent need for food alerts me that it's time to go to Galleria and satisfy my aesthetic needs with delicious food. The world's oldest shopping mall, Galleria, is in Piazza Duomo. There are many shops, boutiques, cafes, and more restaurants than you ever can see. Restaurants seem rather small. Each has a display of various antipasti by the entrance door. What a wonderful torture it is for me to walk by all these delicious things. I walk into one and see that it's quite large. One of the waiters greets me, "Buongiorno, signorina." Ha, this is my man. He served dinner with elegance, pleasant smile, and as many signorina as I could ever wish to have. To my delight, there are some of my Italian favorite things in the menu. I choose well. Antipasti. Carpaccio, thin sliced new tenderloin, shaved Parmesan regato grapeseed truffle oil. Insalata di mare, seafood with olive oil, fresh herbs, and lemon dressing. Pesce, delicious scarola. It's a grilled snapper on a bed of escarole, golden Yukon potatoes, salad, and blah, 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 blah. Fanacei, aragosto risotto, lobster meat flamed with grappa, lobster sauce, and asparagus risotto. Bianco nero, wild and dark chocolate mousse on a crusty hazelnut base. Peripherals, cream puffs. Maybe I could have one of those little peripherals. Or it's just one bite each. No, I'd better exercise my will. So I did for a moment, being proud of myself. No, who am I kidding? It's easy to exercise my free will when I'm so pleasantly full. If anything, I'm protecting myself from getting sick after the most delicious dinner I had in a long time. A sudden cloud of anxiety came over me. I have to fly to Berlin tomorrow. No matter how much, I have to skip something. I will order a wake-up call for 5 a.m., a double espresso, and take my last walk to Il Duomo. The piazza seems much larger without the cafe, chairs, and people. I feel energized and special to be the only human in this vast space of harmony and beauty. The doors to the cathedral are closed. Looking more closely at the door, I see that it has numerous figures of birds, fruits, beasts, insects, so ingeniously carved out of marble, they look as they are ready to just get out of the door and join me on the piazza. If I could have an extra day to study those designs, I still would not see them all. Some bas-reliefs of beasts are hard to look at. I don't want to look at them closely, but must. To understand what it means, I have to look at all, beautiful and ugly. There is a reason why they are there. Suddenly there's a tap on my shoulder. I freeze. I imagine the ugly roan beast is right behind me. Prego, signorina. A nice human voice softens my stiff body. I run around slowly. There stands a young priest smiling at me. Oh, I'm too close to the door. I apologize and take 2 steps back. Oh no, please, he says. You admire cathedral? Oh yes, very much. Then permit me to show you. He opens the doors and leads me inside. That early morning, being alone with the priest inside the Milano Cathedral was a moment of high spiritual enlightenment. I do not remember if I had any thoughts. All I know is that I felt very light and in total harmony with everything around me and with myself. We walked around, he one step behind to my right, mostly in silence. As we made a full circle, he said, "You like the place close to heaven?" How strange. The priest wants to show me the place close to heaven? Why am I suddenly suspicious of this saintly young man? Well, he's the priest. I can follow him anywhere. He led me to the roof of the cathedral. Among the pinnacles and the sculptures covering the roof, there's a wide, flat surface area. You can walk from one end to the other. The priest is right. It is like heaven. I'm so close to some of the greatest achievements in art that I can touch them. There is nothing but the sky above. I do not feel small being on the top of cathedral and under the heaven. I feel taller, lighter, safer, and humble. The priest is coming to say goodbye. Is he an angel? I thought I was alone on the roof. I want to thank him most sincerely. I should call him Father, oh, but I cannot. I'm too firmly grounded in the earthly things. He could be my son. I cannot kiss him either. Just shake hands and bow to him. As he's walking away, I'm following his shadow on the roof. When I look up, he's gone. Leaning on one of the red roof sculptures under the sky, I find my better self. I have been given an exceptional gift of 2 phenomenal days to see and feel the solemn and vast, delicate and graceful eternal beauty of Il Duomo. In Duomo di Milano. Now is the time to turn to the next chapter in my life and join my husband in Berlin. On the way to the airport, the driver is taking the highway. It is faster and there is nothing to see. I'm not in favor of faster routes. You can gain in speed, but you lose a chance to see the beauty of nature. The flight to Berlin is short and uneventful. I did not sleep nor dream. I just want to go back to Milano. The airport is very crowded. There are long lines for luggage. At the passport control, there are 3 long lines. I have to stand in the longest one because I'm a foreigner. By the time I get through custom control, all I want is to find a quiet corner and sit down. There are no quiet corners in the Berlin airport. I am looking for some help. There are no partners. Only a long line of push carts secured by lock chains. A sign indicates where to put your 2D marks. I don't have 2D marks. I don't know what to do. So I sit on my suitcase and watch a single line of people getting their cards. I can not sit there forever, so I decided, ask the first person who walks by if I can buy 2D marks for my dollars. There comes a woman dressed as if she is going to the opera. I'm not going to ask her. Walking past a young girl in jeans carrying a rucksack and 2 bags glanced at me. I'm not going to ask her either. She probably does not have 2D marks. I wish I could carry my 2 suitcases, a shoulder bag and a purse. I'm disappointed and surprised that nobody stopped to ask me if I need any help. An attractive young man in jeans and a black turtleneck pulls out a card and is walking toward me. I stand up. Excuse me, could you give me 2D marks for some dollars? There is an exchange office just around the corner. I thank him and sit back on my suitcase. Oh, I say you need it for the card. So he looks through his pockets and hands me a coin. Here is 2D marks. You can take your card now. I offer him $5 bill. Oh, no, it's not necessary. He bows slightly, smiling. Willkommen zum Deutschland. Alles Gute und auf Wiedersehen. Oh, you are German. I thought you were an American. Most people in Germany speak English. Have a good stay. Goodbye. Dankeschön, auf Wiedersehen. He turns around, waves and smiles. I feel so much better. With his 2D marks, I get my card, load my luggage, and finally, I'm on the way to the exit. I see my husband, smiling and holding one long stem rose. First thing I notice is he's the best well-dressed. I'm impressed. Is this an enormous place? Yes, we are staying in the best hotel in Berlin. I am surprised and impressed. My first thought is that I'm not properly dressed for such an elegant place. In our suite, we find a beautiful bouquet of flowers with the card Willkommen. And there's a bottle of Campari, soda and white wine. How did I know that a Campari soda is my drink? He just smiles and pours the drinks. After all, this Scheigenberger 5-star hotel, known for elegance and luxurious services. Now we both can relax. Cheers. Cheers. Yes, we have 10 days in Germany. You will like Berlin with its magnificent architecture and some of the greatest museums of Western civilization right here. I know, but do we need 10 days for museum? Yes, we do. Actually, to see them all, we need more than 10 days. Oh, but I would not like to go to the museum every day. Well, You can do other things than shopping. Me shopping? You know I hate shopping. Yes, but Berlin, Europe's most fashionable shops are right here. I will compromise as long as I can if I don't have to go to more than one shop. Really, most women would skip museum to do the shopping instead. Aren't you glad I'm not most women? Blah, blah, blah. I feel invigorated walking I would rather go for a walk. I feel invigorated walking and observing constant motion of crowds. He's right. Most women are fashionably dressed. I'm intrigued and puzzled by the intricate traffic patterns. I love that special kind of excitement when I arrive in a city. It's quite a thrill trying to absorb the unknown. An hour later, I'm tired. I have to skip. I'm at the Brandenburg Gate. A few minutes ago, I was alone, desolate, ignored by the couple on the way to the concert. Now this young man treats me cordially, with respect, and with gesture. I'm getting there. I'm standing at the Brandenburg Gate and do not know which way to go. Looking at the street sign, the name Brandenburg triggers the memory of many hours of enjoyment in listening to Johann Sebastian Bach's Brandenburg Concerti, the most often performed on the world concert stage. Brandenburg Gate became a symbol of Cold War, a threat to personal freedom, and at the end, the fall of a communist regime. One of the world's great works of art, Berlin's museum and Bach's music masterpiece, is one of the most cruel creations that has the same name. I find some great significance in this, but cannot think about it. I will think about it later. I still feel ambivalent about the fall of communism in my country, which was then still a part of Yugoslavia. My unusual weakness, a near fainting, may have been the physical manifestation of my ambiguity over divided loyalty to my father's Orthodox and my mother's Catholic. I have to drink. I'm suddenly distracted by loud laughter. It's dark and 40. There you. A troublesome thought enters my mind, so no matter where I am, I always dwell back upon the past. Right now I'm here in Berlin, and what am I doing? Dwelling on the past again. Here in Germany, many stories are still waiting to be told. It's only 2 months since Berlin Wall came down. How many German people have suffered during the Cold War? Was this exquisite hotel in the East Berlin or West Berlin? Do you remember Peter Fechter? No, who is he? He was the 18-year-old brick builder from East Germany. He tried to jump the barbed wire near Checkpoint Charlie. East Germans spotted him. He obeyed the order, shoot to kill, and fired. Peter fell to the ground. He was lying in death strip, bleeding to death. Nobody helped him. He was in full view of the Western media. Both sides watched him die. West Berlin yelled, "Murders," but nobody did anything. This is a very upsetting story. I am remembered of it as we stand by the window watching a man being beaten to death. We are not doing anything to help him, just like they did not. They all watched Peter bleeding to death. Nobody helped him. Sorry. This comparison is outrageous. You are confusing facts. Your young man tried to escape to west over the wall, which was built to keep East Germans from escaping. Everybody knew that there was 27 miles long wall of barbed wire, which was later replaced with tons of stone 12 feet high. Anybody who would try to get over that wall was destined to die. The young man knew it. He took the risk and paid with his life. Oh yes, but during 28 years of war, 6,000 people managed to escape. Unfortunately, young Peter was not one of 256 who died. How come you know all these statistics? I also know that the city, which was divided into British, French, American, and Soviet zones, has become capital of the reunited Germany. How united is it if you have two men murdering another, right here and right there, now in front of Berlin's finest hotel? Okay. Am I done?
Okay. You want to finish that paragraph and just come to a good conclusion?
Okay. I'm back in the room. I tried to open the window to see what's going on. There was a fight outside the window we watched. It was horrible. So you cannot open this window. It's soundproof and security locked. I feel trapped. Oh, don't dramatize. Do you expect me to be calm while watching a show of brutality and violence? Finally, somebody called the police. I'm watching the policeman kneeling over the injured man, looking through his pockets. After a while, he motions to the ambulance to take him away. I'm wondering, but don't ask my husband, why does not policeman let the ambulance take care of the man first and then go immediately after the two culprits? Unable to control my anxiety, I'm pulling on his shirt. The policeman is deliberately letting them escape. Come on, you're becoming suspicious of everybody. Yes, tell me that if just a coincidence that the guy wear black boots. I cannot take you seriously anymore. This is 1989. The Nazis with black boots are gone since 1943. Are you sure? Haven't you heard of a neo-Nazi movement? There's a neo-Nazi party in America. I look out the window. The street is back to the normal, quiet, elegant neighborhood. We better go to dinner. Sorry, I was too eager. It doesn't matter if I skip page or two because there's too much stuff.
Say that again?
When I couldn't separate two pages, I had to skip, you know?
Understandable.
Time to wash again. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, RAIJKA. That was grim. Hard times. And we survived as humans, so let it be a lesson to us. We can get through it. Well, Jenny, are you
Sure.
ready to come back?
Something a little, just a little light something here.
A little light something.
Okay. But I loved hearing about Italy. Thinking so much about Italy these days. That's why you read it, right? Thank you. So this is something called My New Feminist Cop Show. Oh, yeah. Okay. I am so excited about Bust, my new TV show. It has a strong feminist slant and stars me as homicide detective Casey O'Malley. Every week, a woman gets murdered in some hideous, hair-raising fashion. Excuse me. And I relentlessly track down the perps, the rapists, the serial killers, the wife beaters, the sex traffickers, the victims' creepy gynecologists and professors and fitness trainers, their incestuous dads, sadistic pimps, pervy ministers, and sketchy neighbors. I find these monsters and I spit in their faces, patoy, when they try to flirt with me while I interrogate them. Then I rip their lame alibis to shreds. Oh, you're going to do time, all right, I say. A lot of time. You're going to die in your cell of old age, my friend, unless you're lucky enough to have someone on the inside stick a shiv in you first. Because you know what you have to look forward to otherwise? That's right, the shower. Plenty of guys who will be happy to get a piece of your sorry ass. In short, I speak for all the women in this corrupt cesspool of a woman-hating world that objectifies us and treats us like pieces of meat. I empower women with my kick-ass, avenging angel, feminist goodness. All right, yes, there appear to be completely different dress codes for me and for the men in my department. While I, Casey, wear extremely tight, low-slung blue jeans and deep V-neck t-shirts, out of which my abundant cleavage swells, or tank tops that accidentally ride up to show my taut midriff, my brilliant partner, Josh Aronowitz, and the other detectives I work with wear neckties, button-down shirts, and boxy suits. It doesn't matter where I am, a funeral for one of my Vics, a black tie opening at the opera, or my sicko billionaire suspect has a box. There I am in skin-tight jeans and skimpy tops. And no one ever says, don't you have any work clothes? Or, what, are we doing casual Tuesdays now? Recently, I mentioned to Craig, our show's creator and showrunner, that I felt a little funny about this. But haven't you noticed that you always get to the perp just a moment before Josh and the other guys? He replied. That's because all those baggy clothes slow them down like sails in the wind. He's right. I do always get to the perp first, which is appropriate since it's up to me to be awesome on behalf of all women. I'm so glad Craig cleared that up. Another thing that used to make me uncomfortable is how sometimes on the show, I don't even get skimpy outfits. I'm just like in my underwear. Like in one episode, I confuse the men's and women's locker rooms at the station, and Josh comes in right as I'm stripping down to my lacy bra and panties. And even though Josh is brilliant and erudite and a total egghead, his parents are Nobel Prize winning physicists, but he has chosen to go into police work, bless him. He is nonetheless a flesh and blood man, and this moment of powerful sexual chemistry between us is even more piquant because we cannot give into it. It would distract us from our work. I asked Craig, mixed up. We're showing our viewers the obsessive devotion that makes you a hero to women everywhere. Got it? I do, I said. So that explains why I'm wearing just a filmy nightie in one of those scenes, when Josh comes to my apartment in the middle of the night to tell me about some development in the case that he could have just texted me about, right? Exactly right, said Josh. You're always on duty. But I can't help noticing that Josh keeps looking at my nightgown like he wants to see what's under it, I said. Oh, ignore that, said Craig. That's just a guy thing. Oh, that was a relief. But one other thing was kind of bothering me. I couldn't help noticing that almost all of the women who get murdered on our show are attractive, well, even gorgeous, and young, hardly over, say, 30. And a lot of them seem to be fresh-faced, nubile teenagers. Do ugly women ever get murdered, I asked Craig one day, or fat women or old ladies? Sometimes, but not that often, said Craig. Believe me, if they did, we'd show it.
Oh, that made me feel much better. For a moment there, I thought Craig was trying to get away with something.
Thank you.
That was fabulous, Jenny, and I bet you run around in high heels all day, right? Chasing-
pursuit of my of the perps.
Churching perps in your stilettos, in your
Well,
Louboutin.
the women detectives on these shows never have purses.
Oh,
Because they never carry purses. It's very strange because they need to run a lot faster. The purse would slow them down.
and then they have to, they don't have pockets either.
They don't seem to have pockets. They don't seem to have wallets or purses or.
They have a place to put their phone somewhere.
Yes, they do always have a place to put their phone. That's
And
true.
somehow they miraculously have the evidence bag in which you put things.
Yes, they have the evidence bag, those plastic evidence bags, yes.
You know, I turned down the mic. I hope everyone can hear this, but I'll have to turn that back on. I was afraid it was causing some kind of interference. At any rate, now let's hear from Benita.
Okay.
I'll turn that.
I may have to switch from paper to phone, so I don't think I'm texting in the middle of it. I would also like to say that I'm dressed like this because I never left my house today and because of the corones, but that's a lie because I always dress like this.
It looks great.
Thank you.
You look fine.
Okay, so since I was 12 years old, I've been writing pieces of this book that I'm now trying to put together. So it's in beginning stages. It needs a lot of editing still. And it's called The Diary of a Drunken Slut. And some of it's funny, but not all of it's funny. Okay. Prologue. The two women met at the bus stop in Johannesburg Central, as they did most days after work. The tall buildings casting shadows over the streets, causing even the hottest of days to seem a little dreary, dark and cold. Vanessa had been a little more unnerved that day than she had for a while since the suicide of her long-term boyfriend, Ricardo. He blew his brains out right in front of her. She had received another call from his mother. More death threats? Christine asked, noticing Vanessa's anxiousness. No, something else. She wants to make peace. The woman stood in silence, looking through the bustle of the business world spilling out into the streets. Busy, always busy. Vanessa felt better just knowing Christine was with her. They were sisters-in-law. Christine had been married to Vanessa's brother Warren for almost 5 years, and they had 2 small children. So what now? Christine asked the space around her. I'm not sure, Vanessa answered into the same space. When the Toyota pulled up next to them, they recognized it straight away. As soon as Pam got out of the driver's side of the car, Christine felt the quickening of her heart inside her chest, loud like the uncontrollable beating of a drum. Something was not right. Looking over the car from the street side, Pam placed her crossed arms on the roof and rested her chin on them, very smoothly and calmly. She greeted Vanessa with a warm yet crooked smile and acknowledged Christine in the same way. Bernadette, with her big blonde hair and overkill of cheap makeup and blue eyeshadow, greeted Christine and Vanessa from the passenger seat of the car. I'm serious. I want us to be friends, Pam said, continuing their conversation from earlier that day on the phone, as if it hadn't ended hours ago. Come to my house for some coffee. I have so many photos I want to show you and give to you. We can go through some final paperwork and just chat and try to be friends. It's what Ricky would have wanted. Pam's career, if you can call being a prostitute and brothel owner a career, made her shadier than most people, Christine and Vanessa, burden of the craziness that followed the death of the man whom she thought was to be her life partner. Will you be able to drop me off at home after? Vanessa asked. Of course, Pam answered excitedly. Christine looked at Vanessa with a feeling of unease glossing in her eyes. I'll come with. Pam seemed a little unnerved to have an unplanned visitor, but she put on a smile even bigger than before. Great. You live near each other, don't you? I can give you both a ride home later. Christine and Vanessa rode at the back of the car, looking out of the windows on either side of them. Bernadette and Pam made chit-chat, laughed loudly while telling stories of Ricardo from his living days, and quickly filled in any moments of silence with weather discussion. Vanessa slid her hand to the middle of the back seat, where Christine placed her open hand on top of it. They didn't look at each other. They didn't need to. They only felt. The car came to a stop outside of a convenience store. Pam jumped out, and while closing the door, talked through the window. Just a quick stop, ladies. Need anything? No thanks, Christine and Vanessa answered simultaneously. When they arrived at Pam's house, also used as her brothel, she hooted and the gate was opened by what appeared to be a 20-something-year-old domestic worker. Or was she too a prostitute? They couldn't tell. The woman drove in, the tires of the car crackling over the pea-stone driveway. The car came to a stop, handbrake up. As the forewoman climbed out of the Toyota, the packet of whatever Pam had purchased from the store fell, and a roll of black duct tape wheeled across the ground. Christine looked at the tape oddly. Bernadette recovered the roll quickly and placed it back into the packet. Come, I'll have Dudu make us some coffee. Everyone followed Bernadette inside, almost single file. The house was not what Christine imagined a brothel to look like. It looked like a normal house, a home even. But she couldn't help the thoughts filling her mind, images of what must have gone on in that place. It was never really said out loud, but rumor had it that Bernadette was a dominatrix, very into S&M type stuff. She wondered briefly what Pam's speciality was. The woman sat in the lounge, drinking coffee and reminiscing on the past. Some laughter, tension. Come, Vanessa, let's go through all that stuff. I have some photos I want to give you. She took Vanessa by the hand, pulled her from the couch, and led her to the main bedroom that brought the long passage to an end. More coffee, Vanessa heard Bernadette offer Christine as she made her way behind Pam. Here, sit here, Pam said. She sat Vanessa down on the side of the bed closest to the window, her back facing the rest of the room. Pam sat next to her and, leaning over her lap, opened the drawer of the bedside table and pulled out a large stack of loose-sold photos. She began slowly sifting through the pictures, every one like it was the first time she had seen it. I love this one of him. He looks so happy. She got up, and while doing so, she passed the pile over to Vanessa. Vanessa took the photos reluctantly and looked through them, her eyes beginning to pool with tears. Flashes of the crummy white walls in her flat, splattered with Ricardo's happy, bright red blood. It's not how she pictured blood to look. Certainly it wasn't the kind of blood she had seen on television. But when it dried days later, it was black. And no matter how many times that wall was scrubbed, the red happy blood became black, and it smothered her. The fight. Why did they have that stupid fight? Shouting, and then bang, silence ringing through the space between them. Vanessa could hear Pam rambling in the background, and then click. He was a happy boy. He and I were so close, Pam was saying. And then he met you, and you destroyed him. Vanessa's thoughts were abruptly ended. She was drawn to the present, a cold chill down her back. Too afraid to turn around, she looked straight ahead out of the window at nothing, feeling Pam's presence draw closer behind her. You killed my son, Pam screeched. And then Vanessa felt the blade stabbing into her neck, just below her skull, piercing her spine. She let out an agony-filled scream and stood up, raising her hands above her head as if trying to declare peace and surrender. And then she fell to the floor, the photographs spreading like leaves in the air and dropping around her. What was that? Christine stood up abruptly in the lounge. What? Don't pretend you didn't hear that. Vanessa? Christine shouted as she made her way towards the closed door at the end of the passage. Vanessa lifted herself, onto her elbows and tried to drag her limp body towards the bedroom door. Pam stood over her. "You took my son from me, bitch. You will pay." She stood over Vanessa with her legs on either side of her struggling body. She stabbed her once, twice, 3 times, the blood emptying out of the slits in Vanessa's back and neck. "Open this door," Christine was banging frantically, trying with all her might and weight to bust open the door. "Christine!" Bernadette grabbed her by her light brown pinstripe hair and whipping her neck back threw her to the ground. Christine was a little underweight for her age. She had fallen sick with a kidney infection in her last year of high school and was never able to put the weight back on. Bernadette was overweight, almost twice her size. Vanessa reached the door and put her flat palm against it, as if trying to pick herself up. Christine was just on the other side. They could feel each other, and it was in the touch of their hands earlier in that car on the drive to this place that they were connected to in a way only death can connect people. Both crying, they knew they were going to die in that place. Pam dragged Vanessa by her right foot backward into the ensuite bathroom, and 42 stab wounds later, watched with demons in her eyes as Vanessa bled out. Christine looked up through swollen, blood-drenched eyes. She could barely make out Pam opening the bedroom door and wiping her red-stained hands on her blouse. The pain she had felt earlier from the kicks to her face and body had become numb. And although she lay trying to protect herself in a fetal position against the wall, she felt no more pain. Bernadette was still kicking her in a wild, violent frenzy as if her body wasn't already broken beyond repair. Her black, fake leather stiletto heels, boots turning out to be the perfect weapon. Christine looked into the room past Pam and through Bernadette's blows to her face, and saw Vanessa lying in a pool of blood. She closed her eyes. Pam grabbed Christine by one of her lifeless arms and dragged her into the ensuite bathroom next to her sister-in-law. Every bone in her face had been broken. "Let's make sure these pretty little faces never get identified," Pam said as she opened the bottle of drain fluid. That night, Christine and Vanessa's body, wrapped in black plastic trash bags and duct tape, were dumped in a field outside of Krugersdorp and set on fire. Part 1, cut my life into pieces. As I sit here now looking out into the woods, smothered in fallen leaves, I wonder how it is that life is what it is. I live on the island of Martha's Vineyard, and if you know anything about the Kennedy accident in 1969, or the first movie of its kind, Jaws, or if you know the name, I knew it was a word he used when he fought with his girlfriends. He looked at me with a displeased look in his eyes and said, "You're a little slut, and by the time you're 16, you'll be pregnant." To this day, I try and go back and understand why and what I did for my brother to say that to me. Did I wear an outfit he might have thought was too revealing? Did one of the boys from my school come over looking for me, phone me? I just can't, 8 years old. Adam banged on the door hysterically. Mom, open up." The words, "He's dead, Mom. He's been murdered." Repeatedly, he said them in pain. Adam rarely acknowledged me. He had a strict children should be seen and not heard policy. So when he gave the details of what had happened, he didn't care about what that would do to me. I see that now. My father had been kicked to death. His brain basically ruptured within his cracked skull. It took 3 of them to do the job. He was sleeping. They climbed onto the bed and surrounded him. They woke him up, and as his eyes opened, they began slamming their boots into his face. Visions of what that looked like still haunt me today. A kind of cracking sound and death. Death is always around. My fear of death began very young, younger than usual, because when I was 8 years old, I knew death existed. I knew that it could come at any time, and I knew that it was cruel and brutal. I also knew that not everyone was going to heaven, like the grown-ups, tell the children to comfort them. No one even thought to protect me from scary reality, and my mind became a very dark place from then on. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. I heard those words so many times from so many different people when my father was murdered. He was not a nice man. Well, that's what they said, but he was always nice to me. I knew they weren't lying to me, though, when they told me about him smashing my mom's cheekbones to smithereens with a glass ashtray, or that he beat my grandfather into a coma with the receiver of a telephone, or how he would throw stones on the lawn on a Saturday morning and make my siblings pick up every one of them before they were allowed to go out. He beat my brothers almost daily, and they were terrified of him, and they hated him, but all they wanted was his love. My mom was 14 when she met my dad. She was 18 when they married. She was 21 when they divorced, and she was in her 30s when he continued to break into her house and beat and rape her. Yes, I am a product of rape, most likely, but still, he was always nice to me. I think my mom was absolutely relieved at my father's passing, even though he had stopped coming around and was definitely trying in some strange way to make amends. My brothers were weirdly devastated, and my sister was level-headed. Todd was born 17 years before me. Christine was born 4 years after him, and 14.
The continuous feed. So anyway, how about another one from Jenny?
Should we wrap it up with something light?
Yes, let's wrap it up with something. Send us off with some.
Kind of a monologue by a person. You might know the perpetual borrower of your things. If you might have had one of these people in your life. This is one of them. Not real, but you may heal, and now all the heels are like stilts again. I'm like, Denise, you dodo, you should have bought 10 pairs. And now I can't find the one pair I had. I think my cleaning lady took them. So can I borrow your alligator ones? Just put them by your front door in a plastic bag in case it rains. I'll swing by as soon as I get a minute. You know what? You know what? Can you throw your black push-up bra in there too? I don't know what happened to mine, cleaning lady, together. You know your convection oven? I'd love to use it, just for the blondies. Hold on, I can get the steamer thing when I come over to use the convection oven. Duh. Don't worry if you can't find your big spatula after I leave. I need to use it for the blondies. But you know what? I'll take it home with me because I think that spatula might actually be mine. Speaking of appliances, can I borrow that Jack LaLanne juicer you bought when you were on Ambien? It's probably still in the box at your house, but I'd use it all the time if I had it. I'll make you some arugula juice. It's bitter, but it totally cleans you out. You can have my garlic roaster too. Not to borrow, to keep. I'm not sure where it is, so I might have to give it to you later. Oh, can I borrow your lawnmower? Just the machine, not the guy. Well, the guy too, but only if he gets done at your house early. Oh, can I have your beach house for that week when you're going to Umbria? This way you won't have to worry about people breaking in and squatting in it, while you're away. People do that. And sometimes they get stoned and use the owner's furniture for bonfires. It's a trend. I read about it in the paper. Oh, can I borrow some of yours in about 3 minutes? So get back to me right away, sister. Okay? Go to my Kickstarter page to see what I'll be working on while I'm at the beach. I know my project sounds a little like your project, but I'm going to do mine in a different way, with puppets and much more cement. It takes about 2 seconds to become a donor on my Kickstarter page. After you do it, just forward the link to all of your friends and tell them that if they don't become donors in the next 24 hours, bad fortune will visit them. Don't scare them, just mention it. Now, if I don't have time to make the blondie, it's been good with machines. My printer needs a new toner cartridge, and I can't remember how to put it in. Oh, you know what? Just send them over later with the cartridge and an extra one if you have it, and the juicer and my spatula, and the bra and the heels and the two martini glasses and some small green olives. I'll be home all evening. Oh, you know what? Send them with that Wedgwood dessert plate too. If I have time to make my famous fudge, I'll send him home with some on the plate. You can return the plate later, no problem.
Well,
Okay, that's it.
fun time.
She's still your friend?
No, it's not a real person. It's not a real person. You know those people who borrow, well, there
It
are,
sounds right.
We all
they're
have.
never that bad, but can I borrow that? Can I just borrow that? I'll return it, I promise.
I don't ever say that. I say, if you're going to give me leftovers, please make sure that the Tupperware, you don't want it back.
RAIJKA, your cab is here.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Are we done?
That's perfect
Yeah.
timing.
You
What?
just turned it off.
I just turned it off.
Lisa,
Yeah,
That
so
was
we'll
great
have this
timing.
looking better by next time. I guess
I
we,
apologize a little bit. Well, Scott knows I'm a little bit cuckoo. Today was a bad performance.
oh, well, we have
No.
many chances to try again.
That's right.
I'm good. Are we off, I hope?
Yeah, we're off.
I'm good. Okay, so we can.
Speak freely.
I
feel bad because I skipped some parts that I shouldn't have read. The ones that were interesting. I'm glad you're out. That's okay. Hey,
Hello, my dear. How are you?
pretty good. Still